So let me tell you something as our lesson starts. It is something that I hope you'll take into your hearts. So I'll tell you as we settle into place. It's impossible to sing and play the bass. You're a lovely group of people, you deserve the courtesy of knowing what you can expect of me. I've practiced, but it will not mean a thing, 'cause it's impossible to play the bass and sing, sing, sing. You see, the bass is fretless, it's not like a guitar. On bass you spend your whole life wondering where the hell you are. It's got no little markers, just a fingerboard so bare, and lots of notes which often are not there. Then when you start singing, you've got lyrics on your mind, and the notes on bass become impossible to find. To remember lyrics, melodies, bass lines, and chords is no less a miracle than Lord's. So as I make 1,000 errors, sit there and be kind. Do not throw tomatoes at me, keep this all in mind. Remember, this is serious. Remember, this is art. Remember this, or I will fall apart. Then I'd have to pray to God to come and intercede, and he'd only sit and laugh, and she'd only sit and laugh at my wanton greed. She made the rules for molecules, atoms, time, and space, and she knows it's impossible to sing and play the bass. Well, I'm thrilled to see you all came out for your bass lesson. I'm glad to see so many people interested in your bass, in playing the bass, but I am disappointed that no one brought their instrument. All right, fine. This is the bass violin, the bass fiddle, the contrabass, the upright bass, the stand-up bass, the doghouse, the gut bucket. And people have asked me, when was it first built? Good question. Back in Italy of old, when men were brave and bold, and Columbus had just sailed across the seas, ladies from Bologna and gentlemen from Verona wouldst place lutes and mandolins across their knees. They had lots of lutes and lyres. They didn't use amplifiers, for this was indeed a civil age. Violins and cellos were played by maids and fellows, and composers like Vivaldi were the rage. The year was 1550, and orchestras were nifty, and violinists dearly loved to bow notes. But the ladies and their fellows on their violins and cellos found they really, really couldn't get those low notes. So one Gasparo de Salo did his intuition follow and set out to build a giant violin. The concept was outrageous, but nonetheless contagious, and so inspired did he begin. He did begin, he did begin, he did begin, he did begin. He boiled and he brewed, he whittled and he glued, he varnished, chipped and chiseled, bent and treated. He worked with great endeavor and get discouraged never, until one day he found the task completed. One day he was through and he brought it out to view, a violin like none had seen before. Its tone was rich and deep, right down where the fishies sleep, and oh, the depth it added to the score. People looked at it in awe, and they wondered what they saw, and they thought poor Gasparo had lost his mind. The man could not be serious, the man must be delirious. He started to unwind. Oh, Gasparo, face the facts, no one's going to play this axe. It's too heavy, it's too big, it's too clumsy, too large. You're gonna need a barge to get it to the gig. And while its sound is quite profound, just to lug the thing around is going to be a nightmare in logistics. The only willing players will be drunken dragon slayers, gladiators, flagellators, and sadistics. Then the local folks started making up those jokes. This had to happen, don't you know? New jokes began to hatch like, hey buddy, got a match, or you should have taken up the piccolo. But Gasparo was no faker, but a real good violin maker. He was no fraud or public menace. So he just kept on smiling, cause he knew his giant violin would someday be the rage of Rome and Venice. And here we are today, many centuries away, and Gasparo's bass violin has made it through. You can pluck or you can bow notes, but you gotta have those low notes. And thanks to Gasparo we do. Gasparo de Salo, we thank you. Gasparo de Salo, here's to you. Gasparo. Let's hear it for Gasparo. Thank you. Of course, further research on my own has shown me there were other instruments that tried to be basses, and one of them was an instrument that came back through the, sort of worked its way through the Dark Ages into the Middle Ages, called the clunk or the thud. In Gallic, it was clink or thud. And this instrument was played by middle-aged balladeers. Well, what it consisted of was a large rock banged against a hollow tree trunk. Thunk, thunk. Now, a guy would go out and he'd write a couple songs about his life, and he would then find a good thunk instrument, find some friends, invite them to the forest, charge them $20, and would sing songs for them. Fortunately, one of these songs has made it down through antiquity, and I will be happy to render one of the songs. That's not it. Too high. Thunk, thunk. Life in the Middle Ages is just outrageous. Life in 1383, it's as bad as life can be in the Middle Ages. Life in the Middle Ages, lousy work and rotten wages. I shovel dung all day, never get a chance to play.